The street is quiet, almost too quiet, the kind of silence that feels staged, like the city itself is holding its breath. Brick walls stand shoulder to shoulder, windows dark, curtains drawn tight, as if they know something the rest of the world doesn't. Somewhere in this stillness, behind an ordinary door, a man is waiting, and nothing about him looks dangerous at first glance. Hello friends, welcome back to the true story on our channel, Crime Chronicles US, where America's unsolved mysteries, vanished criminals, and chilling cases come alive. Every story is real, every detail matters, and the truth remains buried in the shadows. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay updated with every mystery. John Reginald Halliday Christie did not look like a monster. That is the detail that matters most. He looked small, unremarkable, soft-spoken, the sort of man your eyes slid past without leaving a trace. Born in 1899 in Halifax, England, Christie grew up in a world shaped by strict discipline, poverty, and emotional coldness. His father was domineering, his home rigid, affection rationed like a scarce resource. From an early age, Christie learned how to disappear inside himself, how to stay quiet, how to observe rather than participate. This withdrawal would become his shield and later his weapon. By the time he reached adulthood, he had mastered the art of seeming harmless, even fragile, a man who inspired sympathy instead of suspicion. Christie's life unfolded against a backdrop of war, instability, and social upheaval. He served in World War I, an experience that left deep psychological scars, though Christie rarely spoke about it in detail. What is known is that he began to experience sexual dysfunction early in his adult life, a fact that tormented him and fed a growing sense of inadequacy and resentment. These internal fractures would later twist into something far darker. He married Ethel Simpson in 1929, a quiet woman who trusted him completely. To outsiders, they appeared to be a modest, unassuming couple, moving from place to place, scraping by, never drawing attention. Inside the marriage, however, Christie's control issues and emotional detachment were already taking root. In the 1930s, Christie was convicted of theft and served time in prison, an experience that sharpened his ability to manipulate authority and mimic obedience. He learned how systems worked, how to say the right things, how to play the role expected of him. These skills would later allow him to evade suspicion for years. After his release, Christie took various jobs, including work as a police constable during the war, a role that gave him an understanding of law enforcement procedures, and more importantly, the confidence that came from wearing a uniform. Even after he left the force, he continued to project an air of officialdom, often presenting himself as someone with medical knowledge or government authority. By the late 1940s, Christie and his wife settled at 10 Rillington Place in Notting Hill, London. The building was a narrow, dingy terrace house divided into small apartments, home to people struggling at the margins of post-war society. The area was overcrowded, poor, and transient, a place where people came and went, where privacy was scarce, and yet secrets flourished. Christie lived on the ground floor, a position that gave him easy access to shared spaces and a sense of control over the building. To his neighbors, he was quiet but helpful, a man who kept to himself but was always ready with advice. This is where Christie's crimes began to crystallize into a pattern. He discovered that he could exploit desperation. Many of the women who crossed his path were vulnerable, struggling financially, socially isolated, or dealing with unwanted pregnancies at a time when abortion was illegal and dangerous. Christie would offer help in a calm, reassuring voice, presenting himself as a former doctor or a man with medical experience. He spoke slowly, confidently, using just enough technical language to sound legitimate. His demeanor disarmed people. He didn't rush. He didn't pressure. He waited until trust settled in like a fog. Inside his small kitchen, Christie would prepare a deadly mixture, coal gas. He told his victims it was part of a medical procedure, something that would make them sleepy, ease their discomfort. He instructed them to lie down, to relax, to breathe deeply. The gas rendered them unconscious. What followed was sexual assault, strangulation, and death. Christie's violence was intimate, methodical, and terrifyingly controlled. There was no frenzy, no explosive rage. Instead, there was patience, planning, and a chilling sense of entitlement. Between 1943 and 1953, Christie murdered at least 8 women, though the true number may never be known. Among his victims was his own wife, Ethel. By the time he killed her in 1952, Christie was no longer hiding his actions from himself. He had crossed a line where murder became routine, almost administrative. After killing Ethel, he kept her body concealed within the house for months, going about his daily life as if nothing had changed. Neighbors noticed nothing unusual. That, too, is part of the horror. Evil did not announce itself. It blended in. One of the most disturbing aspects of Christie's story is how long he escaped justice, aided by systemic failures and misplaced trust. In 1950, a young couple named Timothy and Beryl Evans lived in the same building. Beryl was pregnant, and Christie offered to help her with an abortion. She was later found dead, along with her infant daughter. Christie manipulated Timothy Evans into confessing to the murders, using his authority and calm demeanor to sow confusion and fear. Evans, who had learning difficulties, was convicted and executed in 1950. Christie testified against him. He watched an innocent man hang for crimes he himself committed, and he did so without visible remorse. For years afterward, Christie continued living at Rillington Place, the truth buried both literally and figuratively. Bodies were hidden in walls, under floorboards, in the garden. The house became a tomb, masquerading as a home. Christie moved through his days with careful precision, speaking politely, avoiding conflict, keeping his routines predictable. This predictability made him invisible. People expect monsters to be loud, dramatic, unmistakable. Christie understood that the safest place to hide was in plain sight. What drove John Christie was not sudden madness or uncontrollable impulse. It was a slow accumulation of power, secrecy, and sexual compulsion. He derived control from rendering his victims helpless, from orchestrating every detail of their final moments. His crimes were fueled by misogyny, repression, and a deep-seated need to dominate. Yet he never fit the popular image of a killer. He didn't drink excessively. He didn't boast. He didn't leave blood-stained clothes in public view. He was quiet, careful, and disturbingly ordinary. The walls of 10 Rillington Place absorbed these secrets for years. Post-war London was a city exhausted by trauma, focused on rebuilding, not looking too closely at the cracks. Missing women were rarely prioritized. especially those without strong social ties. Christie exploited this indifference. Each successful deception reinforced his belief that he was untouchable. Each body hidden without consequence emboldened him further. By the early 1950s, the house itself began to betray him. The smell of decay seeped into the walls, impossible to ignore. Neighbors complained. Christie moved out abruptly in 1953, abandoning the property. When the new tenants arrived, they discovered what he had left behind. Bodies were found in the garden, in a wash house, inside the structure of the building. The scale of the horror finally came into focus, and the quiet man who had once offered help was unmasked as one of Britain's most chilling serial killers. The discovery of the bodies at Rillington Place shattered the illusion that John Christie had spent a lifetime constructing. What had once been a forgettable address became a symbol of concealed horror, and the quiet man who slipped through life unnoticed was suddenly the center of a national reckoning. Police moved carefully through the house, peeling back layers of paint, brick, and earth, uncovering evidence that spoke louder than Christie ever had. Each body told the same story of deception and control, of trust offered and violently betrayed. Christie was arrested on the embankment of the Thames, wandering, disheveled, carrying nothing but the weight of what he could no longer outrun. For the first time, there was nowhere left to hide, no role left to play. During interrogation, Christie's calm demeanor never fully cracked. He spoke softly, often hesitating, as though searching for the right phrasing rather than the truth. When he confessed, it was not in a rush of guilt or emotional collapse, but in a measured, almost clinical manner. He admitted to killing multiple women, including his wife, describing the acts with a disturbing lack of urgency. There was no grand explanation, no dramatic justification. What emerged instead was a portrait of a man who had lived for years in a private world where his desires outweighed the value of human life, where manipulation was second nature, and where consequences felt abstract until they were unavoidable. The trial that followed was swift, but heavy with implication. Christie was charged with the murder of his wife, though the shadow of his other crimes loomed over every moment. The courtroom became a place not only of judgment, but of revelation. As details were made public, the nation was forced to confront how easily Christie had been believed, how authority, calm speech, and apparent respectability had shielded him. Even more disturbing was the resurfacing of Timothy Evans' case. The realization that an innocent man had been executed while the true killer testified against him struck at the heart of public trust in the justice system. Christie had not only killed, he had corrupted the process meant to stop people like him. Psychiatrists examined Christie, searching for madness, for something that might explain the emptiness behind his actions. What they found instead was deeply unsettling in its ordinariness. He was not legally insane. He understood right from wrong. He knew what he was doing. That knowledge, paired with his deliberate choices, made his crimes harder to rationalize and impossible to dismiss as the work of a mind detached from reality. Christie was fully present in his actions, guided by compulsion, but restrained by calculation. He killed because he wanted to, and because he believed he could. On July 15, 1953, John Christie was executed by hanging at Pentonville Prison. His death was quiet, procedural, and final, mirroring the way he had lived. There was no dramatic last statement, no revelation that softened the horror or brought closure. His execution closed one chapter, but opened many others. The case became a catalyst for change, forcing Britain to re-examine capital punishment, police interrogation practices, and the dangers of blind trust in authority. Timothy Evans was posthumously pardoned, his name cleared too late to matter to him, but not too late to matter to history. Rillington Place itself could not survive what it had become. The house was demolished, the address erased, as though removing the structure might cleanse the memory. But memory does not disappear so easily. John Christie remains a reminder that evil does not always announce itself with chaos or spectacle. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it offers help. Sometimes it looks like a man you would never think twice about passing on the street. His story endures, not because of how loud it was, but because of how quiet, how patient, and how devastating it proved to be when no one was paying attention. So friends, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Crime Chronicles US for more chilling unsolved mysteries from across America. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next story.